Bobbie Jo Stinnett was a pregnant 23-year-old American woman found murdered in her home in Skidmore, Missouri. The perpetrator, Lisa Marie Montgomery, then aged 36, strangled Stinnett and cut her unborn fetus, 8 months into gestation, from her womb. The baby was safely recovered by authorities and returned to the father. Montgomery was tried and found guilty in 2007. She was executed by lethal injection shortly after midnight on January 13, 2021. Having exhausted the appeals process, she thus became the first female federal inmate in 67 years to be executed by the United States federal government, and the fourth overall. Stinnett graduated from Nodaway Holt High School in Graham, Missouri in 2000. Bobbie Jo Stinnett and her husband ran a dog breeding business from their residence. Stinnett and Montgomery met through dog show events and had ongoing interactions in an online rat terrier chat room called Ratter Chatter. Montgomery told Stinnett that she, too, was pregnant, leading to the two women chatting online and exchanging emails about their pregnancies. 155 On December 16, 2004, Montgomery entered Stinnett's house and caused her death by strangulation. Montgomery then cut Stinnett's unborn child from her womb and fled the scene. There was no sign of forced entry. Authorities believe that Montgomery, posing as customer, Darlene Fisher, had arranged to visit Stinnett's house on that day. It is known that Stinnett was expecting the arrival in Skidmore of prospective buyers for a terrier. At about the time of her murder, Stinnett was discovered by her mother Becky Harper, lying in a pool of blood. Approximately an hour after the murder, Harper immediately called authorities and described the wounds inflicted upon her daughter as appearing as if her stomach had exploded. Paramedics were unsuccessful in attempts to revive Stinnett, and she was pronounced dead at St. Francis Hospital in Maryville. Montgomery allegedly called her husband, Kevin, that same day around 5:15 p.m. saying that, on a shopping trip to Topeka, she had gone into labor and given birth. The following day, December 17, police arrested Montgomery at her farmhouse in Melvin, Kansas. A witness would later report that on the morning before her arrest, Montgomery took the infant, her husband, and two teenage sons to a restaurant for breakfast. Police had initially gone to Montgomery's home, after tracing online communications to her IP address, hoping to interview her as a witness. When they arrived, they found a car matching the description of the one at the crime scene. And when they entered the home, they found Montgomery inside, holding the infant, and watching television. Montgomery was arrested an hour later after her story fell apart and she confessed. The kidnapped newborn, who she claimed as her own, was recovered and soon placed in custody of the father. The quick recovery and capture was attributed to the use of forensic computer investigations which tracked Montgomery and Stinnett's online communication. The investigation was aided by the issuance of an Amber Alert to enlist the public's help. The alert was initially denied as it had not been used before in an unborn child's case and thus there was no description of the victim. Eventually, after intervention by Congressman Sam Graves, the alert was implemented. DNA testing was used to confirm the infant's identity. Lisa Marie Montgomery resided in Melvin, Kansas, at the time of the murder. She was raised in an abusive home where she was allegedly raped by her stepfather and his friends, and physically beaten. From the age of 11, she sought mental escape through drinking alcohol. When Montgomery was 14, her mother discovered the abuse and reacted by threatening her daughter with a gun. Montgomery tried to escape by marrying at the age of 18, but both her first marriage and a second marriage resulted in further abuse. Montgomery had 4 children before she underwent a tubal ligation in 1990. She falsely claimed to be pregnant several times after the procedure according to both her first and second spouses. At the time of her arrest, it was speculated that Montgomery's motivation stemmed from a miscarriage she may have suffered and subsequently concealed from her family. Further possibilities surrounding her motive were raised following speculation that her former husband planned to reveal she had lied about being pregnant in an effort to get custody of her children. It was surmised that Montgomery needed to produce a baby in order to counter this charge of habitual lying about pregnancy. Montgomery was charged with the federal offense of kidnapping resulting in death, a crime established by the Federal Kidnapping Act of 1932 and described in Title 18 of the United States Code. If convicted, she faced a sentence of life imprisonment or the death penalty. At a pre-trial hearing, a neuropsychologist testified that head injuries which Montgomery had sustained some years before